Hello, I am Brittany McNeely, and I graduated first with my undergrad in merchandising and digital retailing. I did a double major, and then I continued my education with UNT, and I graduated in December 2019 in merchandising. Decided to do my master's in merchandising because I really wanted to further my education and really wanted to make myself stand out in the workforce. I just think, when you have that experience to say, okay, I did my undergrad, but then, you go back and you do your master's, that really speaks to who you are. And then it also says, you really have an in-depth understanding of merchandising, which I think is unbeatable in a workforce. Work for Party City Corporate. They're based in New Jersey. I work remotely as I'm in California, but my title is an Omni Associate Category Manager. I manage Fall, Halloween, and Thanksgiving. Those are my 3 seasons. So my role is very unique to Party City because I get to dabble in a little bit of e-commerce, merchandising assistant kind of role, and then I also get to play an associate buyer as well. So with the first half, being an e-commerce merchandise assistant, I really help with the SKU setup of items that are coming in, and then managing the SKUs on the front end of the site. So I do the back end by, working with our site counterparts to help unload the SKUs onto the site. And then once they are on the site, I work with our site merchandising to making sure that the presentation is good for the customer. And, the experience is fine. They can get to the checkout, they can get to the items that they need, and that our website is really capturing our merchandising strategy to best show, our key items, our key features and things like that. So it's really a little bit of SKU management from an inventory level perspective, setup perspective, and then once it's on the site, the whole merchandising experience on the site for the customer. And then the second half would be, like I said, a more of an assistant buyer or associate buyer, depending on who you're talking to, role. And I really buy for those 3 seasons for the web. And that really is looking at the history of the SKUs, and I buy towards that. So if our strategy is to move a certain department, move a certain class, I'm making sure I'm in line with those strategies and I'm buying according to that. And then again, also working with inventory level perspective. And then I also get to play a little bit into our visual merchandising, like how the store is actually set up for the customer. So I have a little bit of both of, e-commerce merchandise assistant and then a little bit of assistant buyer all in one, which I think is pretty cool because it matches back to what I went to school for. I would say that it gave me a deep understanding of our merchandising strategy and how I can actually apply it into the workforce. So it gave me 2 lenses. So I got the merchandising side of it, and then I also played into the digital roles because I had both. I don't know if it's a standard for everyone to take digital courses, but I incorporated that into my program as well. So I think really understanding the merchandising strategy, and then also incorporating those digital channels as well. So it was CMHT 5400, if that's the name, but it was the last stats class, I believe, of your career. And that was my favorite class because it was rumored around that it was one of the hardest courses in your thesis or in your master's program, and it made me come with an expectation of I have to bring my best self forward, and I really would like challenges. And so coming with that expectation, I definitely was challenged, but I learned so much, and I think it grew my mind. And I feel like that's just I could say it better, but it really just developed my brain to think differently because you think differently in that class, and so I think that was probably one of my favorite courses because I came with that expectation of, I'm going to challenge myself, and I really did, and I excelled, and I think that really was beneficial. And then the second class was, I believe it was with Dr. P. I don't remember the name, but it allowed us to create a social media strategy based on a fictitious brand that we did create. And I think I enjoyed it so much because we were able to be creative with no limits, and like we had the biggest budget, unlimited budget and things like that. So it allowed us to really be creative and think outside the box and see what really could work for our target customer that was from our fictitious brand. So I would say Dr. Kim. I may be biased because she was my thesis advisor, but she was my favorite because, or I should say most influential, because she really believed in me and she really believed in my thesis and my topic. And that impact, when you have someone who believes in you and pushes you and really, point you in the right direction, I think it really made me feel empowered as a student. Just because if she believed in me and she's the expert, it allowed me to believe in myself and really we're on the same page. So if she believes in me, I believe myself. So I'm really going to strive harder. And I think it allowed me to reach those goals that she set for me, whether they were super high or not. I feel like I was able to meet those targets and really understand that the sky is the limit. And then even after I graduated, she's kept in touch and, really worked to push my thesis to different journals, even after I graduated, which I think just speaks to her heart to the students. My advice to incoming students would be to get all of the internship experience you can. I know our program, the CMHC program does allow or require one internship to graduate, but I don't know if that's still a thing, but if not, I would still say to get all of the internship experience you can. And the reason why I say that is because having the education is fabulous. We need that. But also if you couple that with your experience that you actually applied what you learned in school on at a workplace, that just makes you golden. Because people want that, they require BS in merchandising, and then they say 2+ years of experience, and we all know the struggle with that. But if you can do that while you're in school, that's my golden advice to incoming students, is to get all of the internships you can. It doesn't hurt, it always helps you.
So hi, so I graduated in 2014 and I participated in the major MS in merchandising. The reason I studied this program was because the previous job I had in China, so I'm originally from China, and then I went to US for other opportunities and decided to stay for grad school. The job I had was in a retail management role for Calvin Klein jeans in China. So that's where I touched upon a bit of fashion industry and the fashion business, let's say. I was quite interested, but at some point, I find working in retail or operational side of the business is not really my passion. I'm always more interested in the product management or let's say marketing side of it. And then I realized there that if you don't have an education in merchandising, it's really hard to get into the product management role. That's how I had idea. I want to study more about fashion, about merchandising. And then when I researched for the university, I looked into different schools, and then I think UNT fits both the location and the program itself. It's also interesting. So I made a final decision to come to UNT. Since I graduated, already had quite different, let's say, a job experience. But my current role is that working for KitchenAid. So it's part of the Whirlpool brand, and then we work on small domestic appliance, and I'm the lead for anything CRM, so customer relationship management role. It's in the digital team. So I work with all the consumer database, let's say the ongoing newsletters to our database, the marketing automation, and very excitingly this year, we are also going to work on a loyalty program. So that's what my current role is. Since I joined the KitchenAid, I worked mainly for EMEA region, so Europe, Africa, and Middle East, but mainly Europe. And then this year, let's say starting this month, my role also expand to global scope. So I will also work other regions, trying to help them to, let's say, with the CRM strategy globally. I think what I've studied, although it's not what I'm doing today, but I think it has a good foundation for me to get into, let's say, the business, and also having knowledge, because on the graduate level, I had several courses which I think is quite important and also useful for today, like promotional strategies and then consumer theories. So these courses are very, let's say, general and applies to also today what I do. Although it's less about fashion, but somehow, the business principles and the theory doesn't change. So it's all working towards our customers. Also, our products is very design driven. So people love about the brand because of the color, the design, let's say it's an icon standing on your kitchen countertop. So somehow it's also like a fashionable statement, but in the kitchen. I think because I knew that I'm not pursuing academia, let's say a career path, I know I always wanted to go to business. I think one of the interesting courses that I had was Dallas Study Tour. I think it's very practical. You get to visit different companies thanks to Rich Last, where he led the program earlier. So we had the opportunity to visit different business, talking to business people in a company to really understand the function, what they do, their day-to-day business. And also, I think it's about networking. I think one of the company I worked for since I graduated in the US is actually, I started, let's say, I knew them through this program. So it gives me also a very great view to the company and having a network opportunity. Well, I think there are many professors that I liked, but if I have to mention one, of course, is Dr. Ji-Young Kim, because she was my mentor and she is the one supported me the most. I also work with her as her teaching assistant and research assistant. I think she has a strong, let's say, belief in me, and also always encourage me to do more. And also whenever they have opportunities, they will also think of me just providing me the best educational experience at UNT. I think that there's a lot of things I can advise, but the first is really to know what you want to do with your studies. I think you have to have a purpose, and then also taking this opportunity, really not just sit in your own qubit or library all day. Try to get out to meet with people, to interact with other students who are in the program, and then just open your eyes and try to do as much as you to benefit from this program, because there's a big platform. Also, I think within this college, you also have hospitality major and digital merchandising. So try to also talk to these people and take some courses from them, because one of my job before is also working for Radisson Hotels. So somehow the hospitality part of it also played in a role. So I just think just be open and be absorbent of all different knowledges that come to you, and to take the opportunities you can. So I think that's the advice I would give to different students.